Roar! A deep roar echoed, and almost simultaneously, they all rushed toward the squad. How? How could this be? When Wulina saw so many Steppenwolves appear, she panicked completely. She instinctively wanted to run away, but saw that Sume was already entangled by the previous wasteland wolf and couldn't break free for a while. What should we do? Take action and stop them. Startled, Zhuang Hutu instinctively drew his bow and began firing at the distant wasteland wolf. Don't! Sume's reminder rang out, but it was too late. An arrow shot out with a whoosh and landed directly on one of the steppe wolves. What started as 4 Steppenwolves being provoked into hatred has now, with this arrow, essentially shown them the way. Whoosh! Almost instantly, all the Steppenwolves locked onto the group, their feet accelerating rapidly, chasing after them at a speed far exceeding their expectations. It's over! Su Mei's heart sank. At this speed, it was simply a pipe dream for them to escape. Moreover, under the pursuit of Steppenwolves, turning one's back to them is no different from suicide. Xiaoqiang, hold on with me, fight and retreat, otherwise we'll all be wiped out today. Yes, Su Mei stood at the forefront, watching as the 5 wasteland wolves converged and pounced on her. She could only grit her teeth, raise her long sword with both hands, and sweep it heavily forward. Puff! A series of damage indicators appeared on the monster, barely forcing the opponent to retreat. What was disheartening was that a round of attacks from the Steppenwolf still dealt nearly 200 points of damage to Su Mei. This was only because her passive skill, parry, was active. Otherwise, this single attack would have been enough to take away half of her health. Fireball. Rapid fire. Slash. The 3 novices unleashed their strongest attacks simultaneously, but unfortunately, they inflicted minimal damage on Steppenwolf. After 2 rounds of blocking, Su Mei, who was at full health, not only dropped to below half health, but her combat power was also greatly reduced. Wu Lina, due to nervousness, made another mistake and actually managed to send a fireball landing on the open ground, igniting a large patch of wild grass. In an instant, 4 or 5 more Stepwolves appeared from a distance, fixing their gazes on the group. It's over. Wu Lina's vision went black. She was almost scared to death by what she saw. The group hadn't even dealt with the 5 Steppenwolves yet, and now 5 more were coming? Wouldn't that mean certain death? Under the threat of death, Wu Lina paid almost no attention to Su Mei and Su Xiaoqiang, who were struggling to hold them off. Instead, she forcibly broke away from the group and began to flee frantically into the distance. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. As she ran and cried, she had long forgotten that she was a member of this squad, and even more so, she had forgotten who had lured the Steppenwolf there. Seeing that even the only mage in the group had run away, Zhuang Hutu was no longer confused. He looked at Su Mei and Su Xiaoqiang and also forcibly broke away from the group, gritting his teeth and fleeing with Wu Lina. Don't blame me. Everyone has to look out for themselves. Staying here will only mean waiting to die. Zhuang Hutu gritted his teeth and said, "We're just teammates who formed a temporary team. It's not worth risking your life for someone else." While most of the hatred was drawn to Su Mei, the remaining 3 members of the team became the primary targets of the Steppenwolf. Seeing this, Su Mei knew she was doomed. She had no time for regret or remorse, and instead turned to look at her younger brother and Lin Shiyun. You 2 go too. I'll hold them off by myself. No, sis, there are so many. How can you possibly stop them? Su Xiaoqiang shouted in a panic. Shut up. Do you think you can stop them by staying here? Su Mei cursed. Get out of here. Don't let me die in vain. No, I won't leave, Lin Shiyun, you're leaving? Su Xiaoqiang stubbornly shouted, preparing to drive Lin Shiyun away. But as soon as he turned his head, he saw that Lin Shiyun not only did not leave, but instead stood in place and began to cast her summoning spell. Hurry up and run. What's the use of summoning skeletons at a time like this? Su Xiaoqiang didn't expect Lin Shiyun to stay, and even planned to help. But faced with his attempt to drive her away, Lin Shiyun showed no intention of moving, and instead firmly said, "Grandma told me that people should not be ungrateful." At times like this, even if we have to leave, we should all leave together. Otherwise, I wouldn't live in peace. Buzz. A summoning gate appeared, and from within the pitch-black space, a skeleton soldier wielding a long sword rapidly materialized. Zhou Yu, who was summoned, did not look ahead, but turned back to look at Lin Shiyun, the school beauty who had summoned him. As his mouth opened and closed, he seemed to be saying something, and it sounded like he was hurling some really harsh insults. The sudden appearance of the skeleton soldier also successfully attracted the attention of a wasteland wolf, which charged towards the skeleton soldier almost without hesitation. Seeing that she was less than 2 meters away from the other party, Lin Shiyun, who had been scolded, could hardly help but shout out, "Careful!" Zhou Yu then turned his head and saw the Steppenwolf that was rapidly enlarging in front of him. He didn't dodge at all. He simply raised his arm holding the long sword and slashed down at the wasteland wolf. Upon seeing the skeleton soldiers appear, Su Mei's eyes did not flash with the slightest hope. She had already killed countless level 1 skeleton soldiers during her time in the dungeon. Even though she was only level 5 at the time, she wasn't worried at all about dealing with these skeleton soldiers. Now, the situation is reversed, and the support from the skeleton soldiers naturally doesn't cause her any ripples in her heart. Even Su Xiaoqiang, who was standing to the side, gritted his teeth and charged towards the skeleton soldiers. He planned to inflict some damage on the Steppenwolf while the skeletons were being torn apart. However, as soon as he took a step, a bizarre scene unfolded. With a soft thud, Zhou Yu's iron sword cleaved open the wasteland wolf's head. A terrifying damage number rose from the wolf's head, and the wolf let out a miserable howl before collapsing to the ground. "What? This? Hiss!" Su Xiaoqiang exclaimed in surprise, and Su Mei, who caught a glimpse of this scene out of the corner of her eye, gasped in shock. She expected to be instantly killed, but she never imagined that the one who would be instantly killed would be Steppenwolf. "Are those skeleton soldiers?" Su Xiaoqiang blurted out that he had read the skeleton soldier's attributes in books more than 100 times, but he had never actually seen a skeleton soldier that could cleave a level 10 wasteland wolf in two with a single sword strike. In comparison, Lin Shiyun's shock was slightly lessened, but even so, she was still puzzled as she looked at the seemingly composed skeleton soldiers in front of her. Is this guy really just a skeleton soldier? Why does he look taller and stronger than before?
Ding.
You have killed a Steppenwolf. Experience points plus 15.
Ding.
Randomly obtain the attribute. Claw tier, white. Hearing the prompt, Zhou Yu's dissatisfaction subsided slightly. He had experience and even had entries that was not bad. He glanced back at Lin Shiyun, who was standing there blankly, and finally, she looked a little more pleasing to the eye. Zhou Yu's successful killing of a Steppenwolf immediately aroused the hatred of the other Steppenwolves. Roar! Several wasteland wolves roared simultaneously, abandoning Su Mei and charging towards the skeleton soldiers. Retreat quickly! Su Mei instinctively shouted something, but as soon as it left her mouth, she realized that the other party was just a skeleton soldier and probably couldn't understand her. As expected, Zhou Yu ignored his warning. Facing several charging wasteland wolves, he advanced instead of retreating, gripping his evolved steel longsword with both hands and unleashing a sudden sweeping slash. Sword Chi Heavy Slash. Sizzle. A 2-meter-long sword aura shot out from the tip of the sword, forming a fan shape and sweeping across the leaping wasteland wolf. Puff, puff, puff. In an instant, scalding blood gushed from the Steppenwolves' bodies, and terrifying crimson damage numbers rose above the heads of all the Steppenwolves. They then collapsed to the ground almost simultaneously, dying instantly. All sold out instantly. Su Xiaoqiang froze, standing there like a wooden statue. If Su Mei hadn't kicked him, he probably would have been killed by the wasteland wolf with a single claw. Even so, Su Xiaoqiang was still unable to recover from the shock. It's truly astonishing that a skeleton soldier can unleash sword energy. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that there were such skeleton soldiers in the abyss. Not only him, but even Lin Shiyun was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She thought she was in dire straits, on the verge of death, and summoned skeleton soldiers to fight with her last bit of strength. But who could have imagined that it had only been a short time since we last met? This guy not only cleaved a Steppenwolf in two with a single sword strike, but he could even kill a whole pack of Steppenwolves with his sword energy. Compared to him, Lin Shiyun felt like a complete waste. No, Su Mei felt like she was the one who was useless. At level 15, I was facing 4 wasteland wolves and my health had dropped below half, but the skeleton soldiers appeared and instantly wiped out the whole group. Is this something a human being could do? Yes, he is definitely not human. Not only her, but also Wu Lina and Zhuang Hutu, who were frantically fleeing in the distance, noticed the commotion. When they saw the skeleton soldiers appear, they just scoffed. What use could a mere skeleton soldier be? It wouldn't even be enough to fill the teeth of a Steppenwolf. But the skeleton soldiers' next move completely overturned their understanding. How is that possible? Wu Lina stopped and covered her mouth, screaming. A skeleton soldier that can kill 5 wasteland wolves with a single sword strike? This can't be an illusion, can it? Wasn't she supposed to have contracted a useless skeleton soldier? How can she be so powerful? Zhuang Hutu also found it unbelievable. He and Wu Lina had both thought of each other as a burden, but now, the burden was showing its power, and it was a devastating attack that wiped out everything in an instant. Can you believe it?